We mentioned them briefly there. I think it's time to move on to the prevailing favorites, the Bills. They are plus 120 to win this division. The over-under is 10.5. Last year, Ken Dorsey stepped up as OC. We had a lot of questions about what that transition would look like with Dable moving on to the Giants, whether or not he'd kind of be able to keep Sean McDermott at bay. McDermott's been pretty vocal about wanting to run the rock. Dorsey stayed very aggressive, ran the most aggressive offense from a passing standpoint in the first 3 quarters on early downs, which only helped the run game and helped the offense in converting third downs at the highest rate in the NFL. But things are a little different this year. Leslie Frazier is out as defensive coordinator. Sean is going to take over defensive play calling abilities as well as being the head coach. They upgrade the offense a little bit, but we did start to talk last year that the window may be closing for this Bills team. So with all the additions they've made, the continuity they have, Josh Allen finally getting a little healthy in the elbow department, his off-the-field issues should be rounding up, a.k.a. his apparent nasty split with girlfriend. Is the window closing for this Bills team, or should we treat them as one of the top 3 teams in the AFC again this year?
I think it's still closing like it was last year. I think they're they're pretty much the same team as last year. There's not a lot different going on in terms of like impact players. They're still missing like that second wide receiver that I want this team to have so badly. Gabe Davis, he's fine, but he's more as a third, even a fourth wide receiver, that you just have going, running just go routes all game long. So yeah, they're really missing that. We'll see if James Cook does. I do like him. I think he will get better at running back. And obviously it all comes down to just Josh Allen. So he's top, in my opinion, he's the second best quarterback in the NFL, to me. So yeah, they'll be a top team as long as he's playing well. But I don't really just consider them like one of the top of the top in the NFL anymore. I really don't. They can still win this division, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're second or even third, just because this team has 3 this division just has 3 solid teams that can all be first, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do not like betting unless there's some like big injury in the preseason, and obviously the odds will change. I don't love betting the Bills to win this division for the exact reason you said. The 2 teams behind them jockeying for first are extremely competitive and can have some things break their way. How mad do you think Diggs is at this organization? The rumors are things have started to chill, but the man did take a pay cut in hopes, or restructured his contract in hopes of signing Hopkins. They don't do that. They don't really get any additional offensive help, with the exception of drafting Kincaid out of Utah to play tight end, which I actually love Kincaid. It was a deep tight end draft. I've watched an enormous amount of Utah football, given I've betting them to win the Pac-12 the last 2 years. He's a stud, and to mix him with Knox is going to be great. But I got to imagine Diggs is a little sour, and things could turn quickly if this offense doesn't get going fast.
I agree. I mean, Diggs was already, pretty upset last year, it seemed like, and they didn't really give him a running mate. They didn't really give anyone, you brought up Kincaid, and that is big, but I don't think he's going to be, taking Diggs from getting double covered. I don't think that's happening. He'll still face double covers all game. So yeah, I think that could be an issue, and he gets upset if he doesn't get a lot of balls thrown his way, and that offense can cause an issue too. So yeah, I would be a little concerned about that.
Yeah, I think it's a fair thing to be concerned about. I mentioned the Kincaid thing too, because Ken Dorsey, we saw him up the ante on heavy personnel. We saw increases in 21 and 22 personnel groups last year. They ran the 9th heaviest passing offense from heavy personnel. So adding Kincaid does help in that area. But I think there's a couple things to be concerned about. Offense, I think, will be fine, because anytime you have Josh Allen, you're going to be all right. Like you said, he's your number 2 guy. I have him in my top 3 at the 3rd best quarterback in the league. I think they're going to be all right. My concerns are coming on the defensive side of the ball, because not only is this Bills team losing the advantage they tend to have late in the season, getting a lot of home games, 4 of their final 6 games are going to be played on the road, and after Week 11, they have the projected hardest schedule. But this defense now has to go up the likes against Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers twice, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua twice. Can this defense, with now Sean taking over the reins, White coming back from a pretty significant injury, losing Edwards at linebacker. Can this Bills defense be enough to get them over the goal line?
That's obviously a big concern. They're kind of an aging defense. They got some names that pop out at you, but a lot of them, like I said, they're aging. Von Miller's coming off an injury. Tre'Davious White's coming off an injury. I'm always worried about corners coming back from injuries, especially as soon as you're older than like 27. It just makes me worried. So I'm worried about that. Matt Milano's a beast. I think that this is going to be an issue. You're going to see a lot of Bills games that 42-35. There's going to be some high scoring Bills games because I don't think the defense is going to be able to keep up with a lot of these high flying AFC offenses.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And the other thing is I always get a little nervous anytime a head coach takes over a position group because to me that signals internal panic. I do think while the Bills have been one of the elite teams, and it kind of sounds stupid to say, it is true. When expectations are high and you're not meeting them, coaches tend to get on the hot seat. And their window, I think, is starting to close. But like, if things aren't going great on defense, does that tick up internal panic? Does that affect Ken Dorsey's aggressiveness from a play calling standpoint? Does McDermott try to get them to run the ball more offensively? Like, to me, it feels like there's a little internal panic within the Bills organization just by that move alone. Maybe it's dumb reading into it, but that's kind of my read on it.
I don't hate it. They probably know the window's just starting to close.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will give props to, because I think this offensive line is going to take in a lot of people's previews and kind of talking as their pass blocking ability, but their run blocking ability was insane. This stat that I saw for Cook, he averaged 4.4 yards before contact on first down attempts. The average in the NFL was 1.4 yards. He was getting almost 3 yards extra before first contact than the average running back in the NFL. Insane to me.
That is insane.
It's why they probably also helped convert on 55% of third downs, which was number one in the NFL. So I do have a lot of concerns about this Bills team. I do not think this is the year to bet them to division because you've got the Jets chomping at their heels and you've got the Miami Dolphins who are slated at plus 290 to win the division, over under at 9.5. And I think the Dolphins may have made the best coaching hire this season by going out and getting Vic Fangio.